I thought it was just another normal day. For the first time in years, I walked into a store and didn't head straight to the baggy sweatpants section. Instead, something caught my eye, a bright red dress. It was bold, tight, confident. Everything I had spent my life running away from. But that day, I didn't run. I picked it up. My hands were shaking, but I smiled. Because deep down, I wanted to feel beautiful again. When I got home, I tried it on. It fit. Not perfectly, but it made me stand taller. My daughter peeked through the door and whispered, "Mom, you look pretty." And for a moment, I believed her. Later that night, I went to a friend's birthday party. Everyone was laughing, taking pictures, and I felt like I finally belonged. Until that moment. As I sat down on the couch, there was a sharp sound rip. My heart dropped. I froze. I felt the fabric tear, right in the back. Eyes turned toward me. A silence fell over the room. And in that instant, all that confidence I built collapsed. I couldn't move. My hands trembled as I tried to pull the dress back together. Someone handed me a jacket. But it was too late. The damage was done, not just to the dress, but to everything I'd been building inside myself. I could hear whispering. A few tried to pretend it didn't happen. But I saw the look in their eyes. That awkward mix of pity and judgment. Like I should have known better than to wear something so tight. Like I didn't belong in that dress or that room. I locked myself in the bathroom, staring at my reflection with tears streaming down. And I remember thinking, why did I even try? Why did I let myself believe I could be beautiful? It wasn't just a rip in the fabric. It was a rip in my courage. A tear in the fragile layer of confidence I had spent months piecing together. And in that small, cold bathroom, I promised myself I'd never wear anything like that again. But that promise wouldn't last forever. Days passed. I returned that dress the next morning without saying a word. The cashier didn't ask why, but her eyes said enough. I went back to my old clothes. The ones that hid me, protected me, made me invisible and safe. I skipped every social invitation after that. Told my friends I was busy. Avoided mirrors like they were enemies. And worst of all, I stopped looking people in the eye. I wasn't just embarrassed. I was ashamed of who I had become. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that rip. Saw the faces turning. Felt that same cold rush of humiliation. And then one afternoon, while folding laundry, I found that red dress. Tucked behind old towels, wrinkled and torn. For some reason, I couldn't throw it away. Not yet. Because deep down, that dress still meant something. It was a reminder. Not of failure, but of the woman who tried. The one who dared to hope. The one I had buried beneath shame. That night, I sat with the dress in my lap. And I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for years. When did I stop believing I deserved to feel beautiful? It wasn't about the dress. It wasn't even about that embarrassing moment. It was deeper, older. It was the years of letting the world tell me I was too much, too heavy, too loud, too wrong. And I let it define me. But that night, something shifted. I didn't suddenly feel brave or strong. I didn't look in the mirror and fall in love with myself. But for the first time in a long time, I felt something stirring. Not anger, not shame, but a quiet, steady refusal to keep hiding. I grabbed my phone, looked up the nearest park, and set my alarm for 6 a.m. Not to lose weight, not to punish myself, but just to show up, to move, to begin. The next morning was cold. The kind of cold that makes you want to stay under the covers. But I got up. I laced up my old sneakers, threw on a hoodie that still smelled like fear, and I walked out the door. At first, it was just 10 minutes. Then 15. Some days I walked with music blasting in my ears, other days I walked with tears in my eyes. But I kept going. No one noticed. There were no applause or compliments. No magical before and after moments. Just me, my breath, and a quiet war between who I was and who I was becoming. Little by little, I stopped avoiding my reflection. I started drinking more water. I began saying no without explaining myself. I slept better. And one afternoon, without thinking, I smiled at my own reflection. And meant it. That smile didn't come from a dress. It came from a choice. The choice to keep showing up for myself, even when no one else did. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, something in me began to shift. I didn't just walk anymore. I moved with purpose. My shoulders stopped curling inward. My voice grew steadier. I wasn't just trying to shrink. I was starting to take up space again. At the grocery store, a stranger complimented my smile. At work, someone asked if I'd been on vacation. They said I looked lighter. Not just physically, but happier, brighter. And for the first time in years, I didn't brush off the compliment. I said thank you. And I meant it. I still had bad days, moments when old voices crept back in, telling me I wasn't enough, that I'd never be truly beautiful. But the difference now? I didn't believe them anymore. Because I had proof. Not in the mirror, but in the way I carried myself. In the way I showed up, even when no one was watching. And that was power I had forgotten I had. One day, I opened my closet and saw that red dress again. Wrinkled, torn, but no longer a symbol of shame. It was a reminder of where I started and how far I had come. I didn't need to wear it again. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. But I did slip it off the hanger. Just to say, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Because now, when I look in the mirror, I see a woman who didn't give up on herself. A woman who chose to heal. Not with crash diets or punishment, but with patience, grace, and a little help along the way. I found a routine that worked for me. Something simple, gentle, natural. Something that helped my body feel aligned again. It wasn't magic, it was a companion in my journey. And if you're sitting there wondering if you'll ever feel beautiful again, let me tell you this, you don't need to wait for a dress to rip. You just need to start showing up for yourself. One step, one choice, one breath at a time.